Through the Looking Glass, and What Alice Found There, commonly known as Alice Through the Looking Glass, was published in 1871 by Lewis Carroll as a sequel to Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. The novel follows Alice as she steps through a mirror into a fantastical world where everything is reversed, and chessboard motifs dominate. Like its predecessor, the novel is filled with whimsical characters, absurd logic, and curious events, but it also contains deeper reflections on time, identity, and reality. Introduction. The story begins with Alice at home, playing with her two kittens, Kitty, the black kitten, and Snowdrop, the white kitten. While sitting by the fire, Alice wonders what the world would be like if she could step through the large mirror, the looking glass, above the fireplace. In a moment of magical possibility, Alice finds herself passing through the looking glass and into a world that mirrors her own but operates under entirely different rules. Once on the other side, Alice finds herself in a strange house where everything appears reversed, as if she were looking in a mirror. Even the text of books in this world is written backward. Outside, she sees a vast landscape laid out like a giant chessboard, with hills and valleys forming the squares of the game. Imagine yourself sitting by the fire on a quiet afternoon, two kittens playing at your feet. Alice, a curious young girl, gazes into a large mirror hanging on the wall. But this is no ordinary mirror, it holds a strange, magical world just beyond the glass. Can you feel the pull of it? What would happen if you stepped through? Alice wonders the same thing, and suddenly, without warning, she finds herself passing through the looking glass. Everything is strange and new on the other side, the house is familiar yet reversed, and the world outside is a vast chessboard, ready for adventure. The rules of this world are different, and Alice is about to embark on a journey unlike any other. The chessboard world and its rules. Alice soon learns that she is a pawn in a giant chess game that spans the world of the looking glass. Her goal is to reach the 8th square of the chessboard, at which point she will be crowned a queen. Along the way, she meets a series of strange and whimsical characters, many of whom are also pieces in the game. One of the first figures Alice meets is the Red Queen, who moves at an impossibly fast pace and gives Alice cryptic advice. The Red Queen is stern and authoritative, contrasting with the more playful and gentle White Queen, who appears later in the story. As Alice navigates the chessboard landscape, she encounters the bizarre logic and surreal rules of the looking glass world. Can you see it? The world beyond the looking glass is laid out like a giant chessboard. Hills rise and fall like the squares of the game, and each step Alice takes moves her closer to her goal. She soon learns that she is a pawn in a massive chess game, and her objective is to make it to the 8th square, where she will be crowned a queen. Along the way, Alice will encounter strange characters and face challenges that twist her sense of logic and reality. Her first encounter is with the Red Queen, a formidable figure who speaks in riddles and moves at lightning speed. The Red Queen explains the rules of the chessboard world and urges Alice to hurry. Time moves differently here, and every step counts. Can you imagine playing a game where everything is reversed? Where the rules change with each step? This is the world Alice now finds herself navigating. Encounters with characters. Throughout her journey, Alice encounters a host of eccentric characters, each more curious than the last. Tweedledum and Tweedledee, these identical twins speak in rhymes and argue nonsensically over trivial matters. They recite the famous poem The Walrus and the Carpenter to Alice, a whimsical and slightly dark tale of two characters who deceive and consume oysters. Humpty Dumpty, sitting on a wall, Humpty Dumpty is pompous and literal-minded. He explains the meanings of words to Alice and claims to understand the nuances of language better than anyone. His fall from the wall is an inevitable conclusion to his pride. The White Knight, a gentle and somewhat bumbling figure, the White Knight helps Alice on her journey. He is kind-hearted and chivalrous, though his inventions and ideas are often impractical and whimsical. The Lion and the Unicorn, these characters are locked in a perpetual battle for the crown. Their fight is more of a formal tradition than a true conflict, and they seem more interested in the rewards, such as plum cake, than the outcome of the fight. The gnat is a melancholy insect who briefly accompanies Alice and engages in philosophical discussions about the strange creatures found in the looking-glass world, such as the bread and butterfly and the snapdragonfly. The Garden of Live Flowers. Alice also visits a garden where the flowers can talk. The flowers are somewhat vain and arrogant, speaking to Alice as though she were inferior to them. They engage in a peculiar conversation about their own importance, reflecting the novel's theme of whimsical role reversals and the fluidity of identity. Imagine a garden where the flowers can talk, and that's exactly what Alice finds herself in. The flowers, roses, daisies, and more, speak with haughty voices, believing themselves superior to Alice. They look down on her as though she's just another weed in their perfect garden. But Alice, clever as ever, holds her own against their arrogance, laughing at the absurdity of the situation. The flowers are just one of the many ways the looking-glass world flips the ordinary into the extraordinary. Everything here seems alive, even the chess pieces that march across the board, guided by some invisible hand. Becoming a queen. As Alice progresses across the chessboard, she finally reaches the 8th square and is crowned a queen. However, her triumph is quickly followed by a chaotic and surreal banquet hosted by the red and white queens. The banquet descends into absurdity as the queens bicker and nonsensical events unfold. As in Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, the line between sense and nonsense is thin, and logic is continually twisted. Finally, after many curious encounters and bewildering puzzles, Alice reaches the 8th square and is crowned a queen. Can you see the crown placed on her head? But her moment of triumph doesn't last long. She's whisked away to a chaotic banquet with the red queen and white queen, where nonsense reigns supreme. The banquet is filled with confusion, dishes appear and disappear, the guests speak in riddles, and logic is thrown out the window. Alice, growing frustrated with the madness around her, finally grabs the red queen in a fit of anger. She shakes her fiercely, determined to make sense of it all, but then everything dissolves into a blur. Was it all a dream? Suddenly, Alice wakes up. She's back in her own living room, holding her kitten Kitty in her arms. Was it all just a dream? Or did she truly step into the world beyond the looking-glass? Alice wonders whether she dreamed of the Red King, or whether she was part of his dream all along. The line between reality and imagination is blurred, leaving Alice and the reader to ponder. In the novel's climactic scene, Alice confronts the Red Queen and White Queen in a final moment of frustration. In her fury, Alice grabs the Red Queen and shakes her, only to wake up suddenly back in her own home, holding Kitty, her black kitten. The novel ends with Alice pondering whether her adventure was just a dream or whether she was part of someone else's dream, perhaps even the Red King's dream, as hinted earlier in the story. The novel's ending leaves the boundaries between reality and imagination intentionally ambiguous, allowing the reader to reflect on the nature of dreams and consciousness. Themes and analysis. Reversed logic and absurdity. The world beyond the looking-glass operates on reversed logic and absurdity. Time, space, and meaning are fluid, and characters engage in nonsensical conversations that challenge the reader's understanding of logic and reality. Carroll plays with linguistic puzzles and paradoxes, making the novel a delight for both children and adults. Identity and transformation. Alice's journey through the looking-glass world reflects her ongoing search for identity. As she moves across the chessboard and interacts with various characters, she must navigate a world that is constantly shifting, where the boundaries of identity are blurred. Her eventual coronation as queen reflects her development, but even this transformation is marked by absurdity. Time and progression. The chessboard structure of the novel symbolizes a journey with a clear goal: Alice's transformation from pawn to queen. However, this progression is constantly interrupted by surreal events, making it difficult to discern a logical path. Time in the looking-glass world is not linear, and characters often experience it differently than Alice does. Dream and reality. Like Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, Through the Looking-Glass blurs the line between dream and reality. Alice's experiences in the looking-glass world often resemble a dream, and the novel raises questions about whether dreams can have their own form of reality. The ambiguous ending reinforces the idea that the boundary between waking life and dreams is not always clear. Playfulness and wordplay. Carroll's love of wordplay and puzzles shines throughout the novel. From Humpty Dumpty's explanations of language to the poetic recitations of Tweedledum and Tweedledee, the novel is filled with linguistic riddles that challenge readers to think creatively and imaginatively.